Have you ever been convinced that if only you had that one thing, then you'd really be happy? For me, for the first 14 years or so of my life, that thing was a mini fridge. I don't know if you had an equivalent in New Zealand, but in the UK, every Christmas time, you'd get out the Argos catalogue, which had all the toys from this big department store, and you circle everything you wanted. And every year, I would circle a mini fridge, and every year, I would be bitterly disappointed. That was until one year, finally, my younger brother got one. But cut to 2 months later, and he had unplugged it because it made too much noise that he couldn't sleep, and decided that he couldn't justify the one Diet Coke he'd have a week anyway. Watching that disappointment set in for my brother, I realised that the secret to happiness wasn't in mini fridges. So I matured a little bit, but still had the same logic. I remember working as a waiter at the local university in Cambridge and thinking I would serve these students during their formal hall where they'd wear these like black gowns. And I remember thinking, wow, if only I went to a prestigious university, then I'd finally be happy. And so I applied to Oxford and didn't get in. Then I applied a year later and did get in, but it still didn't scratch that itch. Cut forward to graduating, and everyone was talking about getting a good graduate job. You just needed one of those and you'd be set for life. So I applied, got in, got promoted a few times. Ola and I got married.
Yeah.
We moved to like an amazing part of the UK, but something was still missing. We were going to church every weekend as well. And on the surface, things were great, but deep down there was a kind of restlessness in my heart. So that was when we finally worked it out. We need to travel to New Zealand. We thought, surely you can't have any problems in New Zealand, right? So Ecclesiastes, that I'm going to be looking at today, is a book that was written over 2,000 years ago, but it speaks directly to that restlessness that made us book the trip to New Zealand in the first place. So let me back up for a second. Has anyone here heard of the book of Ecclesiastes? Yeah? A few hands, okay. If you're new to the Bible, then you might have heard that it's a library rather than a book. It's got loads of different types of literature. It's got poetry, history, songs, legal text, but it also has wisdom literature, which is all about how to live well. Specifically, the books of Proverbs, Job, and my personal favourite, Ecclesiastes. Now, not wanting to stereotype, but Proverbs is probably a particular favourite of sort of middle-aged mums the world over. It's got these like short snippets of wisdom that you might put on a fridge magnet or something like that. And it's good stuff, but it generally sort of follows the logic that live this way and your life will go well. So follow God and things will generally go well for you. So a classic proverb is, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, seek his will in all you do, and he will make straight your paths. So that's great. And it makes sense that if God created the world, then living according to his design would generally work out. But what about when you're seeking God's will and things aren't going well?
It's good, man.
What about when you're trying to trust God but you just lost a relative, or been diagnosed with cancer, or are suffering with chronic anxiety? What about when doing the right thing hasn't made you successful, but it's meant that you've missed the promotion or been taken advantage of?
So good, Jack.
Well, that's where Ecclesiastes comes in. If you've ever seen one of those kind of home renovation shows, there's that bit where everyone sort of dons the goggles and takes a sledgehammer and like smashes the old ugly kitchen countertop and the weak interior walls. Ecclesiastes is a bit like that. It sort of takes the sledgehammer to our expectations about how life should go. But if we let it, it clears the way for what I think is a kind of a truer joy and a deeper sense of meaning and purpose, and a stronger faith for the long run. How does that sound?
Yeah.
All right. So, final bit of context. Most of the book of Ecclesiastes is the words of the teacher. It's called Kohelet in the Hebrew, but it basically just means teacher. And he's painted as a famously wise king who spent his life in search of wisdom, purpose, and meaning. It says that he was wealthier and wiser than any king before him, had more money, success, and fame than you could ever dream of. And so if anyone knew the secrets that life had to offer, it would be him. And the book is him taking us on this quest through his life. So, I hope you're all on the edge of your seats, waiting to hear what this teacher's got to say. We're going to start with the first quote, which is in verse 2 of the book, a summary of what he's found. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless, everything is meaningless. Okay, so I hope you got something out of this message. Stick around for a drink afterwards, remember to get your photo on the wall. No, I remember first reading this and thinking this has got to be like they told them that it's in the Bible, like this is crazy. And you might have the same feeling too. I mean, this guy's supposed to have done it all and share the secrets of his success, and he summarized it by essentially saying it's all a waste of time. It's not really the kind of fridge magnet wisdom that we might expect. But I think the key to understanding this is understanding that word meaningless. And the key to understanding that is to have a bit of a visual metaphor. So, Theo, if you can come up and join me. Okay, so the word translated here as meaningless, I think is a bit misleading, and a lot of scholars do, because it makes us think that this guy has kind of surveyed all of life and concluded that life has no meaning. Actually, that's not quite what he's saying. The Hebrew word is hevel. Can you say hevel? Hevel. Always wants to do that. And it literally means vapor or smoke. So Theo, if you just do your thing, as we watch Theo do this, there's kind of two aspects of this metaphor. We should have got a more accomplished vapor.
Whatever, that's your bad.
Okay, so there we go. So just give us another puff. The first bit is that smoke is fleeting. So it's there 1 minute and then it's gone the next, right? No, you can say it. And so that's the first part of the metaphor. So he's saying that life is hevel, life is like smoke. It's here 1 minute and it's gone the next. Okay? And let's see one of the quotes that he uses to make this point. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. So this idea is fleeting, death comes to us all, that kind of thing. And it's kind of a double whammy, because not only do you die, your memory of yourself dies as well. So, I mean, we can test this here. Put your hands up if you know the first names of all 4 grandparents that you have. Okay, that's not even everyone. What about great-grandparents? No, I think Theo said that you did when we practiced this, but maybe apart from Theo, no one knows, and this is your own kind of flesh and blood we're talking about. So if we can't even remember them, the same thing's going to happen to us, says the teacher. So life is smoke. It's finite and it's fleeting. Okay, just 1 second, last bit, and then you can sit down. The second aspect, right, let's go one more time.
You should have got an actual smoke. The
second aspect is that it's mysterious, so it's kind of, smoke is there and it's not there. You see it, and then you try and grasp hold of it, and it just falls through your fingers. So this is also what he means by hevel. Life is confusing, life is mysterious, life is absurd. You try and grasp hold of it and it sort of slips through your fingers. All right, thanks, Theo. Much appreciate it. Round of applause for Theo. And so, the quote, if we go on to the next slide, the quote from Mysterious we've got here is, "The race is not to the swift or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise or wealth to the brilliant or favour to the learned, but time and chance happen to them all." So again, what he's saying here is that it doesn't necessarily follow that if you live a certain way, life will go well for you. Time and chance seem to affect everyone on earth, and this is what he's noticing. And this actually reminded me of David's preach last week, when he was saying that even if you feel like you're working to build the house of God, your axe head might fall off. So you might feel like you're doing the thing that you're called to do, the thing that's right, and still you're affected by chance. Things are mysterious, they don't make sense. Okay, so this idea of hevel, that life is both fleeting and mysterious, is so important to the book that it's repeated 38 times. And I think it's interesting to reflect that modern society can try to distract from these exact two things. So it suggests that we can ignore the inevitability of death by sort of just avoiding it, or trying to reverse the aging process. It's also invested in this illusion of control, that you can control the smoke. So, you know, just take these supplements and you'll be healthy, just invest in these 3 stocks and you'll be financially secure. It's all trying to give this control that the teacher's saying we can't have. So he brings his sledgehammer down and declares that we can't stop the march of time, death is unavoidable, and chance is everywhere. So this might sound like a massive downer. Don't worry. Don't worry, it gets way worse. So he said that life is fleeting, mysterious, and he spends a lot of the rest of the book saying, don't believe me? I'll show you. So he shows how he's tried all of the different ways that people try and find lasting meaning and purpose, and brings his sledgehammer down on them one by one. So we're going to have a quick look through some of these ones. The first one that he looks to is pleasure. And so here it says that he says that I denied myself nothing my eyes desired, I refused my heart no pleasure. And how did he do that? It says I tried cheering myself with wine and embracing myself with folly. It also says that he owned male and female singers and slaves, but I'm guessing that's maybe a bit less relevant to the people in the room. But the idea of finding meaning in pleasure, I think, is all around us, particularly in a place like Wanaka.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about this week, Ola and I were looking out for different aspects that reflected this, and this kept coming up. You've probably seen them, these juicy vans that are everywhere, and they have this slogan, find your happy, whatever that means. And it kind of, this kind of summarizes, I think, some of this desire for pleasure. It's just, you know, find the best spots, see the best sights, have the trip of a lifetime. This kind of thing is everywhere around us. It's the air we breathe here. And so what does the teacher say of this pursuit? Well, it says, his conclusion is that laughter, I said, is madness. And what does pleasure accomplish? In other words, pleasure isn't enough. It's only temporary. The weekend might be great, but Monday always comes. You might have booked the camper van trip of a lifetime, and then it rains for the entire month because no one told you that October was a terrible time to take a camper van around the South Island of New Zealand. It's fine, it's fine. We're over it. Before everyone said, oh, that's a great idea, October, the roads will be clear. So it doesn't pass the sledgehammer test. So pleasure doesn't do it. What about wealth? Next he looks to wealth and says, I owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself and the treasure of kings and provinces. Today, this could involve herds and flocks, I guess, but it's probably more likely to be, you know, I've got the nicest clothes, I've got the new car, the boat, the snowboard, the house with the lake view. And here, what does the teacher say? He says, whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. And so he's saying that having money is one thing, and enjoying it is another. And this, you know, this is the mini fridge all over again. I thought that once I'd bought it, that would be it, I'd be satisfied forever. But it doesn't seem to work that way. And this is something that I've actually seen a bit doing some window cleaning with Mike over there. Sweet View window cleaning, if you're wondering, go to Mike afterwards for a quote. You know, we've been cleaning some of these unbelievable houses in Wanaka, like crazy lake views, massive windows, the pool, everything. But it's very rare that you kind of see the owners just sitting around thinking, wow, isn't my house great? Like, they have to go about their lives like anyone else. And that shiny new thing soon becomes old news. Yeah. So again, even that doesn't withstand the blow of the hammer. Finally, he looks at work. Here it says, I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted, I'm guessing that should be planted, planted all kinds of trees, fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. So again, in Wanaka, maybe this would be something like, you know, I bought the best sections in town. I built beautiful houses. I started my own business and was bought out. I set up multiple passive income streams for myself and built an inheritance for my family. This was just one of the things that Ola and I took a photo of when we went around. You know, last chance to buy in this sought after location. Sold, 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 sold. We've got these 3 options left. Quick. And what's his conclusion here?
It's only 1.2 million section.
His conclusion is, I hated all the things I toiled for under the sun, because I must leave them to the one who comes after me, and who knows whether that person will be wise or foolish. Yet they will have control over all the fruit of my toil, into which I have poured my effort and skill under the sun. Wow. So he's saying, sure, you know, Jazz and Josh can work hard to build their, you know, create a legacy, but at some point they're going to have to hand it to David, and who knows what he's going to do with it. I mean, you just don't know.
You can do it, man.
Look, the teacher sums up these searches by saying that it's all chasing after the wind. Another kind of metaphor here. Summarized, I think, by this boat we took in 3 parts, that good things are just around the corner. Like, you're not there yet, but as soon as you turn that corner, it'll be there. But then you keep going, and it's just around that next corner, and then it's just around that next corner. The poet Christian Wyman sums it up by saying, "We are driven ceaselessly onward in this life, and are certain of our desires only until we reach them, at which point they seem to dissolve and shimmer further off, like a heat mirage on a road down which we can't stop racing." Or this from philosopher and sometime actor Jim Carrey in his speech introducing the Golden Globe Awards, where he says, "I am 2-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey. You know, when I'm going to sleep at night, I'm not just a guy going to sleep. I'm 2-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey, going to get some well-needed shut-eye. And when I dream, I don't just dream any old dreams, no sir. I dream about being 3-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey. Because then I would be enough. It would finally be true, and I could stop this terrible search for what I know ultimately won't fulfill me." So, it's obviously a joke, but there's many a true word said in jest, and he's getting at this same point made in Ecclesiastes. So again and again he's saying, life is hevel, life is hevel. What is life?
Hevel.
What is life?
Hevel.
Okay, so the teacher's been relentlessly swinging this sledgehammer at all the ways humans, both 2,000 years ago and today, look for meaning and purpose. But before you get too down, remember that he's clearing the way for a truer enjoyment of life and deeper meaning and purpose. And when it comes to that true enjoyment of life, one thing might actually surprise you from what I've said if you go and read Ecclesiastes for yourself, and that's that it contains texts like this. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This too, I see, is from the hand of God.
Woohoo!
So, whoa, what's going on here? This sounds like a U-turn, and just when you think this also, it might be a typo or a mistake, he repeats this instruction again and again and again, all in all 7 times throughout the book. And he charges us with making the most of this life that we have, including my favourite one, this one. "Go, eat your food with gladness and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for God has already approved what you do. Always be clothed in white and always anoint your head with oil. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun. All your meaningless days." Now again, this sounds strange, but I think he's intentionally making this connection between the hevel, the kind of fleeting and mysterious nature of life, and our enjoyment of it.
Yes.
So I think he's saying that it's only when we realise that these things of life can't provide that ultimate satisfaction that we can enjoy them for what they are, which is good, undeserved gifts from God. It's only when we stop desperately trying to control the world that we can receive it as a gift with an open hand. And I think this is summed up by a quote that I really like from a poet who said that gratitude is the enemy of entitlement. And personally, this hit home for me when I was back in the UK. I was sitting at a coffee shop, enjoying myself, reading my book, and the barista came over and said that they'd accidentally made an extra toasted cheese sandwich and asked if I just wanted it for free. So I couldn't believe my luck, and I obviously just wolfed this thing down, was loving life. And then about 5 minutes later, the woman next to me had ordered the exact same toasted cheese sandwich, and I heard her going up to the barista and complaining there wasn't enough cheese, or it wasn't toasted enough, or something like that. And I think this kind of sums it up. We both received the exact same sandwich, but because mine was a gift, I felt that I could enjoy it more. I didn't deserve it, I didn't enjoy it, I didn't earn it, and I enjoyed it far more than the woman who'd paid for it and felt entitled to it. Right. And so I think the teacher is saying that, the sooner we see all of life as a gift from God, the more toasted cheese sandwiches we'll enjoy along the way. So, okay, that might help us with the enjoying life part, but being dressed in white and drinking wine doesn't help us when it comes to that kind of deeper meaning and purpose, particularly when life feels really hard. Yeah. So here I think we need to zoom out and see that throughout the book, the teacher spends his time circling these 2 core ideas. So he's constantly reaffirming that God is good and that life is hard. We might expect him to sort of neatly resolve this, but he doesn't. Instead, he offers this kind of tension to us as a wise way to live in the mystery of life. So basically, I think he's saying that there are two mistakes we can make here. One would be to just be over here. Look at, just be on the right. Life is hard, and therefore God isn't good. Okay, this is like Albert Camus or French existentialist philosophers. The reality of life is that God can't exist or God can't be good. Or we can be over here and say, yeah, God is good, I know God is good, I know my Proverbs, I know the Bible, so life must be easy. And for people that are finding life hard, they're just not trusting God enough, they're just not believing. And that's not what the teacher does. The teacher says we should live in between. We should accept both of these things together. And that's what wisdom consists in. So the book itself concludes with a summary of what we should take from the teacher's experience. And again, it might be surprising. After all that he said, it says, "Fear God and keep his commandments. This is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it's good or evil." Now this sounds pretty heavy, and in one sense it is, but I think it also holds this key to that lasting meaning and purpose. For the teacher, the ability to live in that middle section, in that tension, required himself to put himself in God's bigger story of redemption and trust that ultimately, despite all the injustice and absurdity he sees around, God is good and he will bring ultimate justice in the end. But we have something the teacher didn't hear. So we've been looking at this rich wisdom tradition of the Israelite people. But Paul also referred to Christ, to Jesus, as the wisdom of God. So we can look at Jesus' life, death and resurrection as embodying this wisdom. And if you go and read the Gospels, you'll read of how in Jesus, God entered into the hevel, into the absurdity and fragility of life, enjoyed the good gifts of his Father so much that he was accused of being a glutton and a drunk, and then ultimately, out of love, took on himself the reality of human brokenness, evil and death, and in rising, triumphed over even that. It tells us how he poured out his spirit on his early followers so that they could go out to all people and bring God's love, reconciliation and justice to the ends of the earth. We were all invited into this story to be active participants in bringing light and love into every area of life, from your work to your home to your friends. And that's a big enough story to build a life on. Now, it was after we'd booked that golden ticket to New Zealand that we were going through a hard period, Ola and I, life just felt hard, painful and unjust for us. My own sort of interior walls of self-sufficiency and achievement and pride had been broken down, and it was only in that place that I, for the first time really, felt I could receive that undeserved love of Jesus as a gift. And that experience of grace and love helped both Ola and I reject our own attempts at writing the story with us at the centre, and started to move to see ourselves as just a small part in God's bigger, much better story. In doing this, the pressure came off this trip being the one thing that would satisfy us, because we'd already tasted that satisfaction in Jesus. Coming to Wanaka wasn't then just about extracting good experiences, but spending time with God and his creation and with his people. Joining a church wasn't just a shortcut to make friends, but a place that we could serve others. And, we've been in this process of moving to try and fit, rather than trying to fit God into our lives, submitting our lives into God's vision for the world.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's basically all I wanted to say, but just to leave a kind of two practical areas of encouragement. I think there are two things we can take away from Ecclesiastes. One is this idea of receiving life as a gift. So Augustine famously said that we are made for God and our hearts are restless until they find their rest in him. And as the teacher has shown throughout this book, as long as we look for satisfaction and meaning in the things of this world, we'll never find it. But looking first to God and releasing that need for control, we can experience true joy in ordinary life. And just as the poet Joshua Luke Smith says, the life you long for is hidden in the life you already have. You don't need to go to that amazing destination or to have that house to find that kind of joy that you're searching for. And finally, this idea about finding a bigger story. So If you're in the midst personally of a period of suffering or feel stuck in your faith, my narrow experience is that finding lasting meaning and purpose comes not from trying really hard to make your story better. Instead, it comes from accepting that grace and forgiveness of God, rejecting any story that places us at the center, and finding ourselves within God's bigger story. And actually, that's what we were doing with the communion. If that might have been your first time taking communion, that's exactly what it is. It's seeing that the life that Jesus lived and the death that Jesus died is something that we can somehow participate in taking the wine, taking the bread. So yeah, that's an encouragement for you. See life as a gift and find a bigger story.